All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Best Buddies Parent Session. We are so happy that you are here. We have a guest speaker, Anna, from the Texas ABLE program with us today, and she's going to share more information about the Texas ABLE program and how it can help save funds for your loved one and also pay for some disability-related expenses. So, Anna, we will pass it off to you, and thank you for being with us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Courtney. As Courtney mentioned, my name is Anna Millette. I work for the State Comptroller's Office in Austin, so it's a state agency, and I work specifically for the Texas ABLE program. So my job is to do exactly this. Travel around the state and promoting the ABLE program, whether it's to a parent group or a family one-on-one or different types of associations to spread the word about Texas ABLE across the state. So as Victoria mentioned, we'll any questions along the way, go ahead and throw those in the chat box and we'll circle back to them at the end. I've got a lot of information to cover and I'm going to just do it kind of very, very high level. I will say that a PDF of these slides I will provide to Courtney and to Victoria. So if you guys are interested, we can have that for you and feel free to take it and it'll have all my contact information and everything. But you'll see here, this is my contact info. What I plan on covering today is I'm going to talk a little bit about really what is ABLE, the history of it, where it came from, and really how it could help you or someone that you love in your life. ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. So it is a savings program for individuals with disabilities and their families. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the basics of it, how to, who's eligible, how much can you put in the account, how to enroll. We'll talk some specifics about the program here in Texas. So we'll talk about some of the different ways to save, the savings and investment options, and how to use the account. I'll leave you with some resources, and then again, circle back at the end for any Q&A, and feel free to put those questions along in the chat box. So whether I'm doing a presentation via Zoom or talking to a room full of folks, I always have to let people know that I am not a tax advisor. I'm not a financial professional. So I can't, there's strict laws against giving financial advice. So I cannot do that. We do have a program disclosure statement, which is all the rules and regs of the Texas ABLE program can be found on our website. So I have to let folks know that right up front, because some of the things I'll talk about in a few minutes involve investments and securities. So let's talk really first about ABLE. I said ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. Essentially what it is ABLE is a savings program that was passed or developed after the passing of a law on the federal level called the Stephen Beck Achieving a Better Life Experience Act. Essentially what this act did, or what this program did, this law did, was it created a new option for families to save, to put their own money away in what we call an ABLE account, and use the funds in that account for disability related expenses, all while keeping the eligibility for public benefits, right? So for SSI, for Medicaid, important waiver services that these families will need, whether they're receiving them now or in the future, it created a new savings option, a new savings plan. One of the other things that the law did was it actually authorized the states to administer the programs. Now, this is important because the only way an individual or a family can actually enroll in a program is through a state administered program. And so here in Texas, we administer the program through the State Comptroller's Office, and that's why I'm an employee of the state. And so the only way you can enroll in the Texas program is through our website at texasable.org. I will mention very quickly the law you'll see there on the screen. The law was named after a man by the name of Stephen Beck. So this is important because Stephen was a parent of a child with special needs, but he also was a disability advocate, right? And so the story is Stephen, along with other parents that had children with special needs, were sitting around his kitchen table one night, and they were talking about long-term saving strategies for their children, right? How are we going to be able to save in the future, long-term, and still keep eligibility for important benefits that we're going to need for our children? And so they lobbied to create the law. It took them about 10 years to pass it, but it was super, very, very much a game changer for the way folks can save. I mentioned we administer the program here in Texas. There are 40 plus states that do have ABLE programs. And so we work with those states to really spread the word about ABLE. And so we put together a little video that I'd like to play for you now. It's about a minute long, and it just provides a nice overview of what ABLE is. Victoria or Courtney, if y'all can just give me a thumbs up, that way I know you guys can hear it okay.
As someone who has a son with Down syndrome, this law was one of the best things that's happened to the disability community in a very long time.
In 2014, Congress passed the ABLE Act to help families with disabilities save for life.
The ABLE Act is a game changer for Americans living with disabilities, but there's a problem.
Only 50,000 Americans are currently using ABLE accounts to save.
And more than 14 million are eligible.
An ABLE account is a savings plan that people with disabilities or their families can use to save for someone with a disability the same way that people can save for someone without a disability.
Ethan has needed extensive dental work, which has cost thousands and thousands of dollars. You can go down the list, and pretty much every part of his life took on an added expense.
ABLE allows people with disabilities to put money away that they can use in the future to cover essential life costs.
Without the risk of losing government disability benefits.
We save for Audrey through an ABLE account the same way that we save for my other daughter with a 529 college plan.
Before ABLE, people with disabilities who depended upon government benefits to cover the high cost of living with a disability couldn't have savings of more than $2,000 without risk of losing their benefits.
Nobody can live off $2,000.
This limitation made it extremely difficult for many people with disabilities to live independently.
Do you want to be in a place where you can live all by yourself and do all the things that you want to do in your dreams?
Yes.
With ABLE, you can save without losing SSI, Medicaid, HUD, and other important benefits.
ABLE allows you to set aside up to $15,000 each year.
If there's one thing you need to know about the ABLE account, it's that your money grows tax-free.
But the difference is that you can use it at any time to pay for any eligible disability-related expense.
My favorite thing about ABLE is that it is flexible and simple, that I just go and sign up on the website and it's done and I'm saving. Stable, dependable,
Capable.
Enable.
Available.
We need your help to spread the word on ABLE.
I'm excited to announce a new savings program for Texans with disabilities administered through my office. It's called the Texas Achieving a Better Life Experience, or ABLE program. With the Texas ABLE program, eligible Texans with disabilities and their families can save money for short and long-term disability-related expenses in a tax-advantaged account. For too long, many Texans with disabilities have been unable to work towards financial independence. Texans with disabilities now have a path towards a better future. Find out more today at texasable.org.
So again, that video just provided, a nice overview of kind of the next few slides that I plan on covering. Again, the ABLE account. This is a tax advantaged account. These are designed for individuals with disabilities. This is important. The beneficiary or the individual with the disability is always the owner of the account. Whether they are 3 years old or 43 years old, they're always, by law, they're always the owner of the account. These are your own private funds that you're putting away, intended to, supplement any other funds that you may be receiving. You can have only one ABLE account per beneficiary or per eligible individual. I say that because some of the other states are open to out-of-state residents. So for example, Ohio accepts residents all across the United States. We don't. Here in Texas, we only accept Texas residents into our program. Again, the video touched on these. These are really keeping the eligibility now, being able to save and keeping that eligibility now or in the future, right? Because prior to ABLE, those families have always been told you can't save. You have to put money under the mattress. You have to give money to grandma. There's no way you can save more than that $2,000 in resources. And so it really opens up that door for families to save. Tax-free withdrawals if used for disability expenses, and I'll talk about some examples of those in a moment. This is financial independence for individuals who are working or who want to work, who've not been able to save above and beyond those limits in order to keep those resources down. Peace of mind for mom and dad, for grandma, grandpa, anyone to put some money away in addition, for family if something were to happen to them. Choice and control. This is huge because an ABLE account it allows, you to put money in whenever you want, however much you want, use it if you want, when you want, you decide. Anyone can put money in, the individual with a disability, mom, dad, even a special needs trust. You can set up these accounts to have a special needs trust fund directly into an ABLE account. So there's lots of different ways to use the account. So based on that federal law, there are some eligibility requirements that, in order to be able to open the account. The law says that the individual with a disability must have developed their disability before the age of 26. Okay, so that means, again, they can be 2 years old, they can be 43 years old, as long as that disability occurred before the age of 26. And in addition to that, they would have to receive they have to meet one of the other criteria that you see here on the screen. The first is going to be if they're eligible to receive or currently receiving supplemental security income or SSDI. The second criteria is going to be they can have a list of a condition on the list of compassionate allowances. This is a list that the Social Security Administration maintains, and it's made up of more rare illnesses, and they're constantly updating this list. So you can check that out to see if you would qualify that way. And then that third option is going to be through a self-certification process. That's going to be through a physician's diagnosis. The physician would write a letter stating that the individual's disability did occur before the age of 26, and they meet the definition of what the Social Security Administration, their definition of what is a disability. And you'll see there on the screen, that's going to be results in marked or severe limitations, expected to result in death, or expected to last longer than 12 months. So again, one of those three criteria, and then that age requirement, and then that Texas residency, of course, you're eligible to open that account here in Texas. Who can open the account? There's two ways to open the account. First and foremost, that individual with the disability, if they're 18 years of age, they're that Texas resident, it's beautiful. They can open it, they can manage it online, put money in, and use it how they would like to. If not, you can elect to have an authorized legal representative open it and manage it on their behalf. So that's going to be really anybody, a parent, a guardian, brother, sister, grandparent, let's see, a representative payee, a Social Security representative payee, and then of course a power of attorney as well. So anyone acting, being able to manage the financial matters for that individual. Also, based on that federal law, there are some contribution limits as to how much can be put into the ABLE account. By law, you can save up to $17,000 from all sources combined, can go into an ABLE account in one taxable year. For individuals who are working or who plan to work, just so you know, they changed the law a couple years ago, and which allowed for individuals who are working to be able to save an additional, really almost $14,000 above and beyond that annual contribution limit of $17,000. So essentially almost over $30,000 in 1 year in their ABLE account. Now, the $13,590, that has to be working wages. So really opening that door for those individuals to work and save and still keep that eligibility for benefits. The max that can go into an ABLE account is going to be $500,000 here in Texas. So remember, that's at $17,000 per year, or $30,000 if they're working individuals, up to $500,000. This is an important slide for folks or families who receive SSI monthly income. So what this slide says is essentially you can save up to $100,000 in that ABLE account. Once that ABLE account goes over the $100,000, if those families are receiving monthly SSI benefits, those benefits are temporarily suspended until that account falls back down under the 100,000. Okay, this only applies to families who receive SSI. So saving up to that 100,000, once it goes over the 100,000, those monthly benefits are temporarily suspended until it falls back down under. This is very, very important. Just whenever that account goes over the 100,000, those Medicaid benefits always remain. So those waiver services, that account can go all the way up to that 500,000, and those Medicaid benefits are going to remain. So that's very, very important to know. Also accountable income. So for SSI determination purposes, the money that goes into the ABLE account, just because it's saved into the ABLE account, it's still considered countable income for SSI determination purposes. That's important to know as well. And again, I'm covering a lot of information here. You're going to have these slides, and I'm happy to go back and clarify anything at the end. So the law says that the funds in the account are to be used for what we call disability related expenses. So what in the world is a disability related expense? The definition is it can be used to improve or maintain the individual's health, their independence, or their quality of life. At the end of the day, that is a very, very broad definition of what is a disability expense. This includes basic living expenses, right? This includes things for, everyday expenses such as clothing, food, housing, maintaining that individual's health, independence, or quality of life. As these are tax advantaged accounts, the IRS does determine for us as far as provide some categories for us for what they would consider a disability expense. The beautiful thing about an ABLE account is you put money in, you take it out and use it how you want, right? We're not in the business of approving or denying how you're using those funds. It's up to you, whether it's that individual with a disability or that authorized legal rep, to ensure that those funds are being used for disability expenses. So just to kind of give you an idea, I can tell you how some of our families are using them. Education is certainly one way expenditure. Housing, rent, a utility payment. Those would be some examples. Transportation. This could be a vehicle to get the individual to and from medical appointments, or a modification to a vehicle. It could be an Uber fare. These types of things. These are all quality of life expenditures. Employment training and support. This could be specialized services that they need just to get out into that workforce. Pay for those funds out of that ABLE account. Assistive technology, personal support services. We see families, paying for cell phones out of the ABLE account for certain screen readers or for attendance services. vet bills, service dogs, those types of things, all would be disability expenses, health, prevention, wellness. These could be co-pays at a doctor's office or a specialized therapy that individual may need. Financial management, legal fees, oversight and monitoring. This could be funds to set up a special needs trust, to pay up an attorney to set up a special needs trust, or any type of those types of expenditures. Also, you'll see here that funeral and burial are considered disability expenses also by the IRS. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So again, very, very broad definition of what is considered a disability expense. So I'll talk a little bit about the Texas program. I've covered kind of the nuts and bolts of really how to get started, or the big picture of what is ABLE. We'll talk a little bit about how to get started here in Texas. I don't know why this is popping up. I'm sorry, guys. Let's see here. I mentioned earlier, we manage it through the comptroller's office. Everything is done through our website, texasable.org. There's that big green button there on the screen. That's where you'll start to enroll. Everything is done online. It doesn't cost anything to get, to go through the enrollment process. Once you have established the account and you get ready to make your first contribution into your savings plan, it is a $50 minimum contribution, so a relatively low cost to get started. And then anything above that is a $25 contribution. We see some families, open the account, they fund, the account with $50, $500, and just kind of leave it. We see some families open the accounts and they fund it all the way, with that $17,000, just depending on how they're wanting to use the account. Now, during the enrollment process, this is where you'll select the investment options for the program. So, or I say investment options are more of how you want your funds saved, okay? So usually whether I'm at a webinar in a room full of people, this is where I kind of get the glassy-eyed look and they're going, what does this really mean here, Anna? Essentially what this is this is just 5 different ways to save your money that goes into the ABLE account. The first 4 on the left-hand side of the screen are what we call managed allocation options. So these are predetermined kind of portfolios for you. They're risk-based. They're based on the stock market. So they work very much like a 401k and that type of thing. The 5th option is going to be our bank savings FDIC insured option. So that one is going to be insured and it'll work kind of more like a money market account. So again, these, you get to designate how you want your contributions to be invested or saved. Through that enrollment process, you'll see here, you can choose one or a combination of them all. So for example, you could say, I want to put 100% of my contributions into the FDIC insured option, call it a day. Or you could say, I want to do 50% in the aggressive and 50% in the FDIC insured. So you decide how you would like those allocated. Also, by law, you can actually go in and change those investment options up to twice a year. So if you look at on our website, you can look at how each one of those options are performing, right? So the past history of each one of those and see what might be best for you. And you can actually go and move those funds around, future contributions change the way you'd like your investments for future contributions, if that makes sense. But again, all of this information is on our website, and that's just a little screenshot of what it looks like during the enrollment process. Another feature that our program has that we see a lot of our families take advantage of is, and we have an online e-gift tool. And what this is a way for, once the ABLE account set up, whoever's managing that account can actually go in to the account. They send out an email to family, to friends, really anyone. And what it does is it invites them to make a secure contribution directly back into that ABLE account. Remember, everything is done online, right? So it's electronically. It invites that person to make a secure contribution back into the account, for holidays or birthdays or just really because. And the great thing about this is the way the money goes back securely into the account. And what that does is it circumvents that individual having to hand money to the person with the family, because when we hand money to that individual, it counts as income for them, right? So this is a way to save on the side electronically for others to give into the account. Using the account, I mentioned it's all done online. You could certainly, making a contribution into the account, you could certainly write a check, mail it into the program. We see some families set up payroll deduction to where you can have all or a portion of your payroll, put directly into the ABLE account. Electronic funds transfer, or EFT is what we call them. So basically what this is, for example, you may have, or the individual with the disability may have a personal checking, right, through Chase Bank or Wells Fargo. They would set it up to actually transfer the funds from Chase directly into that ABLE account at whatever amount that they wanted to put into the account. Automatic contribution plan, our program allows for some families to decide, you know what, I want to put in $100 a month into my ABLE account, or I want to put in $1,000 a quarter, however they much, just depending on their situation. They changed the law a couple years ago to allow for families who had set up college savings 529 accounts. So these are 529 college savings accounts are tax advantaged accounts for college, right, or higher education. They're very similar to the 529 accounts for ABLE, which are disability related expenses. So they changed the law to allow those families who had previously set up college savings accounts to allow for those families to roll over those funds into an ABLE account. So making that contribution into that ABLE account tax-free. So that change is really opened the doors for a lot of families to save. And then again, I mentioned that e-gifting, the e-gift tool, and then the special needs trust. We do see a lot of families work with their special needs trust to have it funded directly into the ABLE account. I often get a lot of questions about the differences between the special needs trust and the ABLE accounts. And remember, I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't give you all that, information. But what I do tell you is we see many families using both. I will tell you, special needs trusts are great savings tools as well. They're often a little bit more expensive to set up. You can save a lot more money in a trust, and then it's costly to have someone administer the trust for them, but you can use it with a lot more money. An ABLE account, the differences is going to be you set it up, it's relative and manage it. It's relatively low cost, but it does have those income thresholds, right? So the $100,000 for the SSI limitations up to the $500,000, and of course, only being able to put in that $17,000 per year. So just a little bit of the differences between the special needs trust and the ABLE accounts. Taking funds out of the account or withdrawals from the account is going to be done online as well. So go into that online account. You say, I want to take out $50 and I'm going to put it, I can certainly execute a check to have it, out of the account if I wanted to, but really the easiest way is going to be electronically. I want to take out $50 from the account. I can either put it, say, for example, back to my checking or my savings, use it to go pay for my disability expense that way. But what we see are a lot of our families, or most of our families, take advantage of our debit card. So with a Texas ABLE account, those families can actually opt in to get a debit card. And this is just for Texas ABLE account purposes. Withdrawals from the account go onto that debit card. And then that money sits on that card, right? And then that individual or whoever's managing the account takes that card and goes out, whether they're online paying for a disability related expense or they're out buying food, or they're out at a movie, a quality of life expense, using that debit card to pay for those expenses on the go. It doesn't cost anything to have a debit card. We work with US Bank to be able to provide this for you guys and for account holders. They do have a really good mobile app and then an online website to where you can go in and look at the transactions on the card, look at the balance on the card and that kind of thing. So it's just an easy way to keep track of those expenditures. Now, there are fees to have a Texas Able account, as these are investment accounts. It is a $3.50 a month just to have the Able account, or roughly $42 a year. That's something to keep in mind. There's going to be, if you want to have paper delivery of documents and that kind of thing, it's an extra fee, but everything is on that online portal. So you can go in, this is where you make your contributions, this is where you make your withdrawals. You can elect to download, statements and that kind of thing, all for free through that website. If you want to have a check executed from the account, you'll see there's a cost for that. But many of our families, and again, I mentioned ACH, or that electronic withdrawals, the easiest way to get those funds out of that account. One thing you want to keep in mind, that you get 2 ACH or electronic withdrawals from the Able account per month with that $3.50 fee, right? So anything above that, there's going to be a transaction fee. This is where the debit card comes in handy for a lot of folks, right? So a withdrawal onto that debit card, you can put as much as you'd like on that debit card and go out and about and pay for those expenses with no transaction fees. So that's where it really comes in handy for a lot of folks. A few things I want to leave you, and again, you're going to have a PDF of all of this information, but I've covered a lot of information. I've talked about how we're a state agency, right? And we administer the program. We work with other agencies on the federal level. So the Social Security Administration, we work for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid, the IRS. So I provided these links out there and they're on our website. But what they are, they're really the rules and regs on the way these other agencies treat Able accounts. And so you can, verify Social Security, look at that 100,000 threshold and that kind of thing. And all of these are links to their websites and information on Able accounts on their websites. The Texas State Securities Board has a really good website for sort of investing 101. So for folks who may be just learning about investing or wanted to get more information, you could certainly check that out. And then that last link there is, it's the Able National Resource Center. I like to give this information out because this is, it's managed through the National Disability Institute, and they have really good webinars, good point papers, and just factual information about Able. They do have information about Able through all of the other states as well, including Texas, but just good information. And you can see, examples of the way families are using them. But again, at the end of the day, Able is fairly new. I mean, the law was passed in 2014, and it took many, years really to kind of get the programs developed and then pushed out on the state level. And so we launched our program right before the pandemic. And so they're fairly new as far as we're trying to get the information out on the grassroots level and let folks know about them. And so that Able National Resource Center is a good clearinghouse to find good information. As far as connecting with us and getting, if you want to learn more information, we do have a customer service team. They're Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. All they do is talk about Texas Able. You can call them, you can email them, no question is silly, ask them anything, and they're there to help, even, help you kind of walk through the enrollment process as well. As far as outreach opportunities, I mean, this is exactly what we do. Courtney reached out and we're always available to do presentations, to do webinars. If you'd like brochures, informational materials, or if you know just anybody else that may be interested in ABLE, contact us, email us if you have questions along the way. This is where, this is how to reach us. And then also our webinar schedule. So once a month, we do a webinar. It's a public webinar, and we advertise it out on our website. So you could go out there and sign up to register for one of our webinars, and we're happy to. We're always we're trying to, going to be doing some webinars on like how to enroll into the account and that kind of thing, more one-on-one interactive. So take a look at our event schedule out on our website. I cover a lot of information and I talk really fast. So I'm sure that you guys have questions, and if you do, I'm happy to entertain and circle back to them now.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. Does anybody have any questions for her?
Let's see. I don't see any questions in the chat box, but now's the time. Again, any questions you have about getting started, or just, some of those income. We usually get a lot of questions about the income threshold because, being able to have those contribution limits.
Can you talk, I know you briefly mentioned it, but like the difference between the Texas ABLE account and a special needs trust?
Yeah. So again, they're both great savings tools, right? An account is, it's just more hands-on, right? It's more hands-on. You control how the money goes in. You decide if and when you ever want to use it. I mentioned this earlier. Some families open their accounts and they never take money out, right? They don't use it to pay for expenses. Some families open them and they take them out every month to pay for different disability expenses. So it just kind of depends. But the trust is a little bit more, you have to get approval to actually take the money out and use it. And it's a little bit more costly to administer. And I believe there's certain things that you can't pay for. Again, I didn't tell you this because it's not advice, but I don't think you can pay for, like, for example, housing. I don't think housing is an expense that you can pay for out of a trust. So that's just a couple things to keep in mind. Let's see, one of the other things I didn't mention was our online system. Actually, people will often ask, how much, what if I go over the 17,000 per year or whatever? Our online system will not allow you to put more than 17,000 in that account, because that's important, because if you do, it becomes accountable resource, and we don't want that. We want it to stay under that 17,000. So, you remain in the clear as far as not being accountable resource for SSI determination purposes. So would you like me to go ahead and include that PDF of the slides? Would that be a good time to do it now?
Sure.
Okay.
We also we will be sending a follow-up email with the resources that we can also include the PDF in case anybody that wasn't on the call, they can access it. And then we'll send the link. We have a Best Buddies Texas YouTube account where we upload all of these recordings. So then they can refer back to this recording and then also the resources that you provide.
Wonderful. Well, then I'll do that. I'll just send you guys the PDF and then we can go from there as far as getting that information out to you. And again, okay. I love your organization. Vanessa, my coworker, she's part of the outreach team, has seen you guys out and about, and I honestly had not heard of you guys. And so I did a little research, and you guys do wonderful things, amazing things, and you are the coolest out in the world doing all good things. And Courtney was mentioning some of your leadership programs that we'd like to hopefully be a part of, and just help, get our information to you and be there as a resource for you guys as well. So
absolutely. We did have one more question. Someone said they missed the first part. Did you say that there was an income limit, and what is that?
An income limit. So there is a, as far as how much can you put into the account per year? I'm guessing, yes. So it's $17,000 per year from all contributions combined that can go into an ABLE account. So that can be from mom and dad, from grandmom, from special needs trust, work, whatever, all combined 17,000. If the individual is working, they can contribute an additional, really almost 14,000 on top of the 17. So they can combine 30,000 per year in their ABLE account.
I think someone in the chat was saying, are you prohibited based on your family incomes?
Oh, absolutely not. No,
Okay.
the eligibility requirements are that individual with a disability has to have their disability occur before the age of 26. Okay. And then they would meet the 3 of the criteria. One, if they're currently receiving SSI or SSDI, they have a condition on the compassionate allowances condition through the Social Security Administration, or they get that physician's diagnosis stating that they have that, the disability and it did occur before the age of 26. So those are the 3 ways in addition to that age requirement. So no income requirement.
Got it. All righty. Well, if I don't see any more questions in the chat, but if anybody has any follow-up questions, we'll be sending this out. And the contact information will all be in there. So if you'd like to follow up, feel free to do so. If you have any questions for Courtney and I, feel free to reach out. But other than that, we appreciate you so much for being here and sharing all of this insight. This is also helpful. I'm not a parent or a parent of someone or a child with a disability, but this is all great information, even from where I stand. So thank you so much.
You are welcome. You guys have a lovely day.
Thank you, you too. Bye, everyone.
you.